David.
Where have you been?
I was upstairs, David. My room.
Valentine's Day was a week ago, and we didn't do anything.
David, we're not together. I keep telling you this every year. I don't understand why you forgot it.
We may not be together, but we are friends, and this friendship has rules.
Don't you quote the code to me. I was there when it was written.
Were you? Because I seem to be the only one who remembers Rule 367. In the event of a national holiday, all parties make sure that all other parties have something to do. Otherwise, they must hang out with each other.
What about Rule 3107? That all volumes 8 to 32 are void if one of the people get engaged.
That wasn't ratified, and you know it.
You want to talk ratification? What about Rule 2?
You're really gonna pull Rule 2 on me?
I seem to have to, because you seem to keep forgetting it, Mr. Binder.
Fine. Rule 2 it is.
Fine.
We watched a movie today.
The Kissing Booth.
The Kissing Booth. Now,
I've been trying to avoid this one.
Yeah, this is a little bit infamous.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously,
Fuck you.
as the intro said, we didn't do a Valentine's Day episode. Shit came up, didn't get around to it. Whatever. So we decided to do it the next week, and there were two movies that we looked at: The Kissing Booth and Angus Thongs and something Snogging.
Whatever it
A
is.
Nickelodeon movie from like way in the back ages. But
They tried to bring the term snogging over to American audiences.
this one won the coin toss, and it is a little bit infamous in circles of like, wow, that is shit. And in our opinion, yeah, it's not good. But it's not.
It's like getting your tooth pulled.
Really?
Well, it's like, it hurts. It hurts, but at the same time, you know that tooth has got to come out.
Yeah, it's a bad tooth. All right, so I'm going to try to muscle through the plot real quick on this one. We are presented with a junior girl named Elle.
L.
She is a best friend who was born at the same day, at the same time as her.
Same hospital.
Same hospital.
But don't worry, this is not a Long Lost Twins movie.
And the mothers are actually best friends. His name is Lee Flynn. He has an older brother named Noah Flynn, who's the football player, super hot guy that always gets everything he wants but gets in fights all the time. He's the bad boy.
Yeah.
The two are best friends, and they just get along all the way up until junior year. And then junior year starts, and I guess that Elle has bloomed recently.
She has
blossomed. She is getting noticed by
puberty
people.
has hit her like a ton of bricks.
She's being noticed by people in the school now for her cuteness.
Reminds me of Ginger Snaps.
She
Different reasons,
wears
though.
a short skirt to school
And a long jacket.
because she her pants ripped in part of the uniform or whatever.
Yeah.
And that sets off the whole series of events. There's a guy who starts hitting on her, and then she, after some stupidity, flirts back with him and agrees to go out with him. But he stands her up, and they're like, hey, what the fuck? Turns out that Noah, the bad boy,
The older brother of Lee.
has been going around telling people not to date her or else. Being overprotective of her, despite the fact that he seemingly has no interest in her at all. Meanwhile, there's a carnival
I'm a player.
fundraiser thing going on, and the pair of Lee and Elle are...
Is it for the school? Is it for charity? Is it for something? It's a plot device.
It's a plot device. They have to decide how they're going to raise money, and they come to be the Kissing Booth. And they're trying to convince Noah to be there because everybody wants the bad boy. But he won't do it. So the Kissing Booth scene finally happens. There's also this... Did that happen beforehand? I think that happened beforehand. Of... she's like... First thing she does is she goes to a party. She gets drunk, and she strips on top of a pool table and is taken out before she can do anything too bad by Noah, protecting her. Then there's a scene where she gets paint all over when they're making the Kissing Booth thing, and she is accidentally goes into the boys' locker room.
And then she starts doing like a tease.
Just in spite of Noah, who's telling her, hey, leave before things get bad.
Yeah, because you're surrounded by the football team, and everyone's almost naked.
We've all seen this porno.
There's a lot of scenes where we've seen this porno.
But then they end up going to the kissing booth, and she has to take over the girl side of the kissing booth for a while, and they're blindfolded, so they don't know who they're kissing. And it ends up being that Noah ends up kissing her. And that leads them to be like, hey, so let's be a thing. And he's like, cool, but my brother's not going to like it. And they're like, oh, well, I'll try telling him, but I'm going to fail constantly throughout this movie. So they're a couple, for what seems like a couple weeks, but due to the necessity of the movie, is forced to be at least a couple of months for the timeline to make sense.
The timeline is like a full school year.
So it's at least a couple months that they're together, keeping it secret, keeping it under wraps. Finally, at the end of the movie, it's revealed that Noah is accepted to Harvard. That comes literally out of bumfuck nowhere.
They joke about him like, oh, you're reading a book? Oh, I'm just looking at the pictures. How did you get into Harvard?
I forgot that scene.
Yeah, like, even if you are, like, just getting in on a fucking scholarship, like, Harvard still...
Because he's a football player.
You know the fucking rejection rate at Harvard?
Anyway, so they, it's coming to be that sort of time, and so tensions are getting high, and he's just like, look, I'm going to tell Lee about us now. Lee, meanwhile, has been dating this girl named Rachel. She is inconsequential to the plot, but we like her.
We do like her.
So they're
some character development actually happens in the deleted scenes of the credits.
Yeah. So right as she decides that he's gonna tell Lee, two things happen. One, she gets a scrape on her face, which then makes Lee think that Noah hit her because he's constantly getting into fights. It wasn't the case. That kind of just went nowhere. Now that I think about it. The other half of it is that. Once they agree, like, okay, we're going to tell Lee about us. This is going to happen. They give one little kiss just to like, okay, see you then. But
what the fuck?
Right at the moment, Lee walks in, and he discovers he's been lied to for this whole time.
Plot.
This whole thing, the whole movie is circled around the fact that their friendship apparently has a bunch of rules to it that, like, they take as, like,
some Zombieland rules?
Yeah, of just, like, I think rule number 7 was, like, if your friend is upset at you, you have to give them, like, an ice cream cone, and then, like, everything's forgiven.
Rule number 9, you can't...
No going after Noah. You cannot...
Like, no family. No going after family.
Because Noah, in the words of Lee, always gets what he wants, and he doesn't... if he ever goes after Elle, that's just too much.
It's done.
So, she broke rule number 9 for months and didn't tell him. And there's another rule against lying, so... She broke a lot of rules.
Breaking a lot of rules. Breaking the law.
In the end, they go to prom. She's over Noah. Noah's went away, and she's.
And then Noah comes back.
And then Noah comes back at prom, and she's like, they have a whole rebuilt kissing booth there, and he's just like.
Because apparently everyone's like, yo, this was the best thing about that carnival.
It was that
recreate it and homage the fuck out of it.
And it was that room because that's where they first kiss. It was then like he's standing up there in a tux. However much she's like, come on, Elle, I think it's your turn. And I was like, fuck that, I'm out, and she leaves.
And I gave the movie half a star.
And then they continued onwards, and it was revealed to be their birthdays soon afterwards. Both of them combined, obviously. And it's in that moment that she gets all flustered, realizing that she's not going to, because he's leaving for Harvard, she's not going to be able to see Noah anymore. And she realizes that she loves him, and she goes and tells Lee, and it's like, yo, I get the rules and all that, but fuck that. I'm going to love who I love.
And that's when the movie lost that star, half a star.
So then they do a thing where they manage to orchestrate them getting together, and they say that they love each other, and then cut to a couple of weeks later after I assume they've been together, and he's leaving for Harvard, and they're like, well, we'll still see each other, and hopefully it'll work out, but I've grown as a person. Smash the credits. Blooper reel. Not even bloopers. Deleted scenes that are like posed to look kind of like bloopers. Anyway, this movie is a Netflix original. It is based off of a book published by Random House.
And the actor who plays Lee was in Super 8.
Really?
Yeah. That was his first role, actually. He was in Super 8.
Then. I liked Super 8. I haven't seen it long enough that I don't remember who he was, though.
And it's funny, because if I look at his credits, before he did The Kissing Booth, he did a movie called Fuck the Prom. And I want you to hear, and he was one of the main characters, I want you to hear this plot. Right. Maddie and Cole were inseparable friends until high school started, and Maddie became the most popular girl on campus. When she starts feeling lonely and heartbroken, she reconnects with Cole, and the duo conspire to destroy the ultimate teen popularity contest, the prom.
So here's a thing called being typecasted. In that same vein, the main actress, her name is Joey King, and you may not know her because she hasn't done a whole lot by now, but what I know her from is the movie Slender, which I saw in theaters. I don't recommend it.
I haven't seen it. I still want to see it.
Point being is that I've made this comparison, and I made it in theaters when I was going to see it. She is the next waiting in line to take up Zooey Deschanel's crown.
And I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too, but
I mean, it's time for Zoe Deschanel to pass along the crown. You know what? Now it's like Zoe Deschanel plays the same fucking character in every goddamn role that she's ever in.
The quirky every girl.
Yeah.
So,
the manic pixie girl.
So I
don't fault her for that though.
No.
Just
and
be
I'm
on the
not saying
safe
it's a
side.
good thing or a bad thing whether or not she's in that. But
Yeah.
in the 2 roles that I've seen her in, she's played this exact same part in both. And it's just I'm seeing. Don't get typecast before you even start. Just don't do that.
And most of the other characters are just pretty much inconsequential to this plot.
What's weird to this movie is that they have a very large, like, 3rd-tier cast member.
There's a lot of cast.
There's a lot of people that just keep on showing up that, like, given just enough screen time for you to think, like, are they going to be important? And then they never do. My favorite one was Yearbook Guy. There's a guy who goes around, like, to everything, and he's taking pictures of everything. And actually, it actually comes back in the end. When they go to prom, they show this hall of high school memories.
Yeah.
Which is an entire literal gallery of all these
Who
guys'
are all
pictures.
these high schools who had all this crazy shit at their proms? My prom took place at a very low-rent area.
Yeah, same. Well,
I mean, to be fair, our high school is actually gone now, so
Yeah.
we can't really say much about that.
Fuck it. Anyway, so, but no, for this movie, it was, it had a lot of 3rd-tier characters. The weird part, though, was, I would say that the weirdest character that should have been given more, as we said, was Rachel.
Yeah.
Was during the kissing booth scene, when they couldn't get Noah Flynn, they just put up Flynn as, like, the name, and it was like, yeah, Flynn's up next, and it turned out to be Lee. And
Didn't like Flynn.
And everyone's like, psh, fuck that noise, except for Rachel, who walked up, gave him a kiss, and then they started dating. And it's like, oh, okay. So she didn't get developed at all over the movie, but she never did anything bad. And every time that, like, she was with Lee, he seemed genuinely happy, she seemed genuinely happy. So it seemed like a good, healthy relationship.
And apparently the actress who played Rachel, Megan Young.
Okay.
She was in the She was in the series Black Sails.
Okay.
And she was in The Giver.
Oh, we might get to that eventually.
She played the bride.
There was no bride. There was no bride in the book. I don't know what that fucking means. Fuck. Anyway.
I hit a nerve.
I know. We might get to that. So no, with this movie, do you just want? Okay, so it was originally published on Wattpad.
Yeah, it's originally like
an online, like, updated regular.
Yeah, it's kind of like fiction press.
So, I can see that. I can see that in the writing of this movie. It definitely seems like it's more supposed to be like episodic over the course of a year, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they had to change that
Spud
when they switched it over to a single hour 45-minute long movie.
One,
on certain parts more
way too fucking long.
Yeah.
You could have trimmed a good deal out of this.
Yeah. Okay, so the main thing for us was we paused a lot in this movie.
We paused in 3 main areas. Mm-hmm. One, we paused about 15 minutes into the movie because I was ready to call it quits. Mm. I wasn't going to.
No.
I don't think we've ever really fully walked away from a movie. I think there's like maybe been a couple times.
Back in like season 1.
Yeah, like when we weren't tempered in raw sewage like we are now.
Yeah.
But so like, we kept on going with that after that. Then we paused at like the half-hour mark.
Oh, that one.
It's like, and then first it was because that's ridiculous, but then we kind of got resituated, got like a drink or something like that, got resituated, mm-hmm. And then we stopped like 5 times, like rapid fire in the next couple of minutes because holy shit.
The 30-minute mark is where the kissing booth scene takes place.
Yeah,
it is end of first act. It is to set everything up there. So
we were like, oh, this is the climax.
This is the climax. So we're hitting that, and we're only half an hour in. What's happening? But no, as it turns out, the kissing booth actually has very little to do with the kissing booth.
We just wanted to call it that because it's a marketable name.
Which, again, I believe that when it was put into an episodic thing online, because the kissing booth was one of the earlier episodes, you give that the title. And therefore, it makes sense moving on. If one of your earlier episodes has a certain thing, then you're going to keep moving on from there.
You know what the most ridiculous thing about this thing is? There's 2 things. One, although the character Noah Flynn is the older brother to Lee Flynn, Joel, who plays Lee, is actually 1 year older than Jacob.
No.
Yeah. And the most ridiculous thing, though, and thank you for IMDb trivia for all this and whatnot. You guys should get some like sponsorship shit. Is like as of June 2017, Joey King, aka L, and Jacob Elordi, aka Noah, are dating in real life.
You. You piece of shit.
Now, guys, if by the really off chance that either one of those actors see this video,
you're both very cute.
And also, like, wow, your height difference. How do you make that work?
My favorite scene.
I bet I know your favorite position.
I
Don't push too far.
I hope they don't see it now. My favorite scene was when they first have their first kiss in the pavilion or whatever. There's a part where you can point out he's hunching over to do it, to kiss her. But then when they finally start getting into it, they both get down on their knees.
Yeah.
Just to make the height difference a little less noticeable, just to make it a little bit more bearable. And it's hilarious.
Even then, it's just it's like a titan.
Yeah, no, the one thing that I would say about writing in this movie is that the dialogue is fine in that, everything gets its points across so much. Hold on. But when it comes down to Elle and Lee talking, or even just the high school girls, the bitch squad that's around.
Oh, God. The mean girls that they decided to put in this movie.
Yeah, they I don't know. It's something about the hip dialogue and using a lot of likes and okays and just trying to make it so it sounds super fluid, but at the same time constantly witty and right on. But the worst one for me was 13 Reasons Why. Whenever anyone talks in that, it's a Sorkin sort of writing, but not without his tact to it.
Yeah.
Where it's just everyone has the perfect comeback right away.
Snark.
And I'm just stop. Just make someone a little bit awkward every once in a while.
I still can't say anything because I haven't seen any of 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah. I watched it once when I was really sleep deprived and I loved it, and then I watched it once when I was totally awake and I hated it. So that tells you something.
It depends on the sense of mind. It's like how I am with Portlandia. When I was you have to be in the right state of mind for that. And also I'll never be I'll watch a couple episodes and come back and be I'm going to binge it, and then I'm never going to come back to it again. So at the end of the movie, Joey King's character Elle dresses up as Catwoman from the Dark Knight.
Catwoman?
That was her take on it. From The Dark Knight Rises.
That was legally distinct Catwoman.
Joey King plays a young Talia al Ghul in that movie.
In Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
She was the girl who
She plays the little girl.
She was the girl who was climbing out of the hole?
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we don't do cutaways that often, but that's genuinely surprising.
Yeah. I was surprised when I found that. But getting back to the actual movie itself, the first thing off of my top of my head is that the movie itself is actually pretty well shot.
Oh, yeah, no. Technically wise, I couldn't say I complained about, anything was too dark, anything was too rainy. The only problem I think we really mentioned was the driving scenes.
Yeah, it was very obvious. Now, to be fair, that's less about how it was shot and more how it was lit.
Yeah.
You have, they're obviously either green screened or back projected or wherever it might have. It's probably green screen because most people don't do back projection anymore.
I don't know. There was that one deleted scene at the end where they were driving forward on the motorcycle.
Yeah, they might have been on it.
And it seemed kind of like it was. I don't know. It could be anything.
I don't know. I mean, they also had that really bad green screen with her jumping on the trampoline.
Yeah, that's
when she jumped out the window.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Also, I guess that leads into the. Unless there's any other technicals you want to say. It looked fine. Soundtrack. There were a lot of songs in this that were definitely recognizable.
The funny thing, this is the last little bit of trivia. Kissing Booth, the cinematographer for it, he also shot the first Purge, same year. That's a hell of a mix.
Many talents.
That's a hell of a mix, man. Holy shit.
Have you seen the first Purge?
He also did Texas Chainsaw 3D in 2013.
Is he just more horror than...
it's like he did Black Nativity. I know that movie.
All right, whatever.
The Wind That Blows.
With this movie, it was very bright, very colorful. There was one point when they were coloring, when they were using the paint, they just threw a bunch of blue paint onto Elle.
And we did Cadillac Records, too.
It was such a flat and vibrant blue that I swear that you can just, green screen that out, and it would just perfectly go. It wouldn't. You wouldn't have to mess with any of the settings.
He also did Mona Lisa's Smile.
Jesus, this is a weird collection.
This guy, he did Death's to Smoochie. He did Man on the Moon. Why haven't I heard about you, and why are you now doing this movie?
Because you haven't heard about him.
Who are you?
That's why.
Anastas
M. Mikos.
Mikos. I apologize because.
Anyway,
avert your eyes.
So the main thing in this, and what I feel like gets a decent amount of talk when it comes down in our sorts of circles of bad movies, is the raunchy and unnecessary sex appeal of it.
Okay. So this movie has a bit of an issue, and honestly, it's really funny that I'm thinking about this too. This movie has two main issues, and they both kind of lead back to the tone that the movie takes. But it's a problem that also exists in anime. Two main things. One, the abrupt and extreme tonal shifts in this movie.
Oh my god, I forgot about the opening.
Yeah,
I forgot about the opening.
The opening alone is this crazy, Pixar's Up type montage that goes through this roller coaster.
Pixar's Up is happy, super depressing, happy, and then it just leaves off on side. This one's like happy, 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 happy.
It's got a beat going there.
Like, what the fuck?
The second part is, though, I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with the sexualization of Elle.
Dead mom, by the way. That was the
Dead mom. It was Dead Mom. It's like, but I wouldn't have had, she's got the Disney syndrome, single parent, single dad, working hard, tries to do best by her, dead mom,
Even though the parents aren't mentioned that much, so also Disney syndrome.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, they're only there if the plot requires it. Yeah. But the over-sexualization of her, I get it. It kind of reminds me of, and I said this during this, it reminds me a little bit of Ginger Snaps. The character Ginger in that movie is like very, kind of gothy. People would make fun of her and stuff like that. She gets bitten by a werewolf, but that kind of increases, that makes her highly sexualized.
Okay.
So of course everyone's paying attention to her now.
Yeah.
So that was the first thought in my head. Of course, this minus the supernatural bit, but this one, I wouldn't have had nearly as much of a problem with it if the character themselves. Even though the actress was 18, apparently, when they made this movie.
Yeah.
The character isn't.
Yeah. Okay, so back a couple months ago at this point.
It's really weird because it's not like a movie like Kids.
Yeah.
Where it's just it's obviously somebody, it's focusing on some really fucked up kids. This is meant to be seen as almost camaraderie.
Yeah.
In a way.
Here's
the tone.
Here's the thing. There's a point where they're out on a beach or something like that, and the one super douche is trying to get Elle to skinny dip.
Come on.
She clearly doesn't want to, saying no repeatedly. He keeps on pushing, and then Noah unleashes the beast within.
I can't control this anger swelling inside me.
And he does that. But in subsequent scenes and prior scenes and everything like that, Super Douche is just one of the crowd. He's always just hanging out and partying with everybody. Nobody ostracizes him. Nobody does whatever. There's no ill will even that they show.
Everybody hangs out together.
The football team, the yearbook club, and the dance club are all going to beach parties together. This is the most inclusive high school ever.
And it also says things about race and demographics too. Oh yeah, and they have this gay character in there,
which is totally unmentioned.
He's barely even a token character. He just kind of pops in a couple times.
They have the kissing booth scene where, while standing in line, one of the guys gives them a little wink and a nod, and the other he's like, "Oh gosh, oh geez." And then at the prom, they meet up with each other and start dancing.
That's it. I'm they gave him a lot of focus.
But that's what we were saying earlier. All the C-tier characters get a little bit of focus. The one super nerdy guy, he goes up to the kissing booth and starts kissing the girl, and then the girl's really into it and starts kissing back. But because she's wearing a blindfold, she doesn't know that's the super nerdy guy.
Yeah.
He's given a moment. Yearbook guy.
But he's then back in line.
Yeah.
And he's the reason why they swap out Elle, and then she ends up kissing Noah.
Yeah.
It's like, which doesn't make... I mean, that guy's going back for seconds.
He even gives Noah cutsies. He's like, I already did my bit.
He's like, this is my third time in line.
I had to stop by the ATM, get out more cash.
Also, herpes everywhere. Like, I'm not shaming people with herpes and whatnot. Like, 90% of all human beings have some form of it, even if you don't realize it. But at the same time, though, there's a reason why kissing boobs aren't a thing anymore. Herpes.
So, yeah, with...
Somebody has gingivitis and whatnot.
Yeah,
you can't get gingivitis from somebody like that, but you could definitely taste it. And also, that's the funny thing is, too, like, when they were doing the original, pitching to the board type thing, and, it was like, some people were, like, all on board with it, and, of course, like, the two people who seemed to be averse to all human contact were against it. Yeah. But they were, like, making it like, oh, no tongues and all that kind of stuff. But then when they were cutting to it, I'm like,
that's another thing that's just a plot hole.
Chopping on each other's faces.
I guess it's not even a plot hole because they don't even care about it. But it's a thing of the yearbook guy. He's taking pictures at like a beer keg and like beer pong.
Doing a beer
while
stand
while they're 16, and he puts them in the gallery at the end.
There's this one shot of Elle when she was doing her strip on the table and stuff like that, where she's like half naked. I'm like, no,
not that shot. He didn't use that shot.
That was the banner.
No.
It was in the main hall.
No, I know what shot you're talking about. That was not one. That was when she was in the boys' locker room.
Oh,
when he specifically followed up with, "I will delete this immediately."
Guys.
All right, see that's the thing with the sexualization. Everyone here is supposed to be under 18.
And the locker room scene makes no fucking sense. That's the part where I was like, done.
Half these scenes are like just for the sake of sexualization. I mean, how many scenes were literally just them making out half naked on a bed?
A bunch.
Yeah,
there's a montage of that.
Yeah, that's the entire time where they showed like for the months that they dated. Like, sure, they went out on dates or whatever, they were driving around on the motorcycle, but any time that they were in, like, a home setting, and even sometimes a school setting, they were making out and having sex.
Yeah, and again, like, I don't have a problem with that subject in and of itself.
No,
because,
but not when it's gratuitous.
Yeah, well, again, like, it's really weird what people believe, what you might consider... what something might be gratuitous, because like if I look at like a Larry Clark movie like Kids, or like Ken Park especially, like, these kids are supposed to be underage and it's highly sexualized, but the way that it's done in this one, like, it's really weird. It's kind of like a combination, like the movie Easy A is a good example. Was like, it's the thought that, oh, when you have sex and whatnot in high school, then it's become like, oh, you're one of the guys or something like that. Well, it's like, but at the same time though, from everything here, I don't know. It doesn't sit well.
For me, what the problem is the fact that this movie...
I'm not trying to nitpick.
This movie puts so much of a focus on relationships.
Yeah.
And her wanting to be in a relationship. She doesn't want to be just another fling with this guy.
Yeah.
Yet, every single time we see each other, it's about the lust between the two of them.
Yeah.
The physical attraction. And nothing to do with any sort of actual...
They don't have any moments
together.
Together.
They don't have any moment where it's like, oh, hey, the closest they get is the
It's like The Notebook.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
There was a scene that was literally out of there. You and I were making fun of it. What do you want?
But at least that attempted emotional moments. At least The Notebook had like the tender moments.
At least there was some actual there was an actual character there, because like Noah didn't have a character.
Well, here's the thing. There was a moment that he almost pressed on it, and I wanted them to go further. Was that he's always constantly in fights, and that scene later on where Lee asked if he hit Elle.
Yeah.
Those two things combined with the one scene when after he bear tackles that dude into at the beach party.
Yeah.
They're going back to the car. Elle just keeps walking, and he's just like, Elle, get in the car. Elle, get in the car. Get in the car! And like he yells and snaps at her. I'm like, if this does any sort of examination of any sort of like abusive relationship, not physically but emotionally as well, dear God, I'll give it 1,000% credit.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't, because at the end of the movie, they're both so in love.
They meet they have the airport scene and all that kind of stuff at the end. They don't meet at the airport, but they say goodbye then, and they have like the... Like, I do not believe that even I think one of the problems with the context that I find wrong with this is that movies like Ken Park Kids and all that kind of stuff, they don't say what these people are doing is good. They're like, this is what they're doing, and these are the consequences of their actions. I didn't get that here.
There's no consequence to any action in here.
No,
the
like,
only
they remain friends.
Yeah, the only consequence to the action was been breaking the rule of lying to your friend, and in that, lost friends for like a month, and then
now you're back,
made up totally fine. And then when she continued to date him afterwards, he was then okay with it.
Yeah, he's like, all right, I'll just deal with it.
Yeah, cool. I'm good with it now.
Yeah, no, God, I think that's the problem with the movie itself. Individually, the different things and the different aspects that the film approaches is not bad on its own. Like, again, like I wouldn't have had a hard problem with the sexualization if they weren't trying to spin this as a good story. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a redeemable type of story. If anything, actually, these people should have been very heavily hit by the consequences of their actions.
We made several points of this, of just like, okay, so they're like, she is doing a striptease in the boys' locker room. In any other movie,
in the middle of a school day,
in any other movie, this would be like
the low point.
The low point where your reputation is ruined, everyone is talking about you behind your back, and you see no way out. In this, hey man, you go. Girl power.
And it's funny too because at the very beginning of the movie, like after like when she was she had to wear that really short skirt, and she like had to go to the principal's office. She was so nervous about being expelled.
Yeah.
And after that apprehension is just not there anymore.
To the point where she goes to the principal's office specifically to steal a security camera tape that may or may not have had video of them boning in the chemistry room.
Yeah.
I think that's, I'm going with final thoughts. I think that's the final place.
I think that's a good point.
Final thoughts for me. This movie, it had its moments. The fight scene between...
There were some funny.
Fight scene between the two brothers was actually a good scene. There were some funny moments scattered throughout. The biggest problem comes down to the entirety of the plot and like how it tries to spin certain aspects, and also just how it views of high school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's the Bo Burnham movie 8th Grade has been getting hugely great reviews based off of its accurate depiction of like what that sort of age is like.
Middle school. Yeah.
This is the high school exact opposite of the spectrum. Nobody is just cool with this stuff. Rumor mills are the worst thing in high school.
If anything, even if there are people that are cool with it, you at least to have some type of consequence. The parents are not. They serve no purpose.
No one cares.
Molly Ringwald, what are you doing?
Yeah, we didn't even mention she's a parent. But yeah, no. When it comes down to this, technically, it's fine. Its moments are fine, but in its entirety, it's just kind of a little bit shallow. And if anything, it might be a little bit, too shallow to see the sort of consequences to the actions that it's saying are like, yeah, just go for it.
Yeah, so my final thoughts are a lot along the same lines. It's like, it had a few moments where I had some genuine laughter. So it had a few good lines in there. I had a few good moments. A couple of the deleted scenes were kind of funny too, and I actually would have added more, I think.
There was a scene with Rachel.
Yeah, we had thought about that. It's just like, it's just that it kind of added a little bit more flair to her character. Mm-hmm. It had so many extra characters that weren't developed enough. They weren't even developed enough to serve their particular function in the story. Mm-hmm. Especially all of like the tiny token characters that we have in there. It felt like they were trying to get the camaraderie of High School Musical with all these tons of different people and everyone's happy and whatnot, but then also kind of throw this type of like weird sexualized plot into it. Again, I can't really... I told David throughout the movie that, if this was taking place in college, I would have had not nearly as much of a problem with it because, it's the people kind of cutting loose already to begin with, this type of stuff. And also, like, one of the best examples is, like, Revenge of the Nerds. Like, at the end of the movie, they have a kissing booth, like, with them in the sorority and whatnot, and they're getting money from it and all that kind of stuff. It's just like... Oh, no, it wasn't a kissing booth. Sorry. They were doing pies. Right. The other people were doing the kissing booth. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it still kind of felt along those lines. Yeah. But it never got the idea... I never felt once at all in this movie that my suspension of disbelief actually took effect. No. too much of this was kind of too fanciful, and then too much of this was a little too real, and then everything just kind of ended up in like this no man's land and didn't exactly know what it wanted to be. So overall, the movie itself was just... It's not the worst movie I've seen. No. I don't think it actually is nearly as bad as all the hype that we have heard around this movie is given. Not nearly as bad. Yeah. But at the same time, though, it's definitely also not a movie that I could recommend in any real shape or form. I think the only thing that it has going for it is that it is decently shot, and it rips off a couple instances of The Breakfast Club. And... which makes Molly's inclusion in this movie even more sad. Yeah. I love Molly Ringwald. I do, but I don't get your fucking choices and your roles, hon. I'm sorry. I apologize for my gruffness, but what the fuck?
Maybe they'll get it right next time in Kissing Booth 2, which is already in production.
Yes. Grab that cash. Keep on grabbing that cash, guys. Netflix is going to get that money some way or another. They're still making Death Note 2. But that's still a thing.
Until next Valentine's Day, this has been
The Kissing Booth.
This movie was right, though. If you want to make some money, Kissing Booth's the way to go.
No, David.
What? You don't think I'm cute enough for a kissing booth?
Oh, I think you're hella cute, David, but didn't you have somebody that you were going out with last week?
Yeah, I mean, we decided to call it off. Commute was hell. But I mean, if you think I'm cute, maybe you could be my first customer. Be my first customer. Customer?
Made possible by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.